Okay, good evening, everybody. Today we are going to see a technical talk on process validation. We all know process validation is important factor, particularly while designing the process and then reviewing the process is very important. It will also helping us to optimize sometimes our process parameters. So validation is an important factor, and we are doing it on a normal basis. But many times what happens, we are not understanding exact why we are doing the validation, how to do the validation, the importance of validation. So all these things have been not very clear to most of the people and most of the technical persons. So we are decided that we are going to have one technical talk on this particular topic on process validation. And for that, today we have with us Mr. Prasad Nazare of Neeta Instruments, Kolhapur. So welcome, Prasad.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening to all.
Yeah. So Prasad, as you are knowing that we are today we have a technical talk on process validation. So I request
Yes.
you to start with this your first question, that is what is actually meant by validation.
Validation is an act of confirming the requirement for specific intention, or we can say use or application that have been fulfilled or not fulfilled. For example, we can take process of a pouring. For the process of pouring, what is intention? We want that sound and defect proof product or a casting. Okay. Then for a pouring, there are different parameters like height of a ladle, pouring temperature. These are the process parameters. These parameters give us the requirements to make the defect proof casting. For example, again, the temperature is a parameter. Okay. Then we have to validate the temperature range for our intention, that is defect proof casting. So validation is confirming the requirements of typical use that guide us to the only intention defect proof casting.
What is the difference between verification and validation? Verification and validation, is any difference or are the same?
Surely there is a difference. In verification, we assure that the process is going with the given standards or with the given specifications. We only assuring the things, or we are only confirming the things. In process verification, we check all is carrying according to the set process limits or not. It is done by the quality department, usually verification, and it should be done periodically. It must be done periodically. Okay. In case of validation, for that typical product, for that typical process, we set the parameters that with these parameters, this process should be done. Then our intention of defect proof casting is going to be successful. So in case of validation, we generally say that it is R&D type or a development of a process. In case of a verification, we are only confirming the things.
Against the standards.
Yes,
Yeah, verification against the standards. Okay. We are doing
yes,
also a lot of
sure.
process audits. So, what is the difference between process audit or
Yes,
and validation? Is there any relation between them?
yes, there is a relation. We generally verification, we can say it is equal to the process audit. Verification of process is generally equal to the process audit. In process audit, according to the our 4Ms, man, machine, material, method, we have that set parameters, and we check only that this act is happening according to standard or not. That is process audit, or we can say the verification. But in validation, we actually set that limits. For example, again we can take the pouring. If one has set in a control plan that pouring should be done within the range is given like 1390 to 1410. that is a range given by the validation act. This range is decided by the validation. And in process audit, the process auditor only check that this pouring is going with these parameters or not. There is only yes or no. In validation, there is a trial and error
So
and development.
you're meant to say the validation is mainly related to process design.
Yes, surely. Process design and development. Yes. It is
Uh,
R&D of process.
okay, great. Prasad, I will just like to have, for our viewers' benefit, I will just like to have you give an example. For example, we are talking about the pouring temperatures today. So let us take an example of pouring temperature and let one can understand what exactly is validation. You can just give us some example about process validation through the pouring temperature.
Yes,
How
yes.
can
I
be
have that.
validation
I will
should be
share my
done
screen.
for that process? We can say pouring temperature.
Yes, yes. Surely. This is a process validation report. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So here decided the process parameter, process pouring. Okay. The parameter is pouring temperature and time. Generally, for any process, we have to confirm the XY axis. So if you are doing the pouring temperature validation, you have to have take another parameter that is affecting that typical parameter with that process. So we know that temperature is dropped with respect to time. So pouring temperature linked with pouring time. These are both x and y coordinates. Then we have to confirm equipments used, parts, pouring time for that typical job, number of boxes per heat, operator's name for their what we can say, their training if required, or they are knowledgeable for that or not,
For
their
understanding the
skill
skill level
matrix
or skill matrix.
according to skill matrix. Yes. After that, as per the rule of SPC, the minimum number of readings you have to take for variable data is 32 numbers. You have to study at least 32 numbers for any kind of validated data. So I have taken 4 hits as there are 8 boxes, 8 fours are 32. So likewise the results are given. Definitely according to the tapping temperature, pouring temperature varies. So as I have said, validation decides the process limit. So we have taken different tapping temperature so that we can get different pouring temperatures. I have started with the max temperature 1560 with tapping temperature start time 0 seconds, tapping ends after 80 seconds. Then first box pouring starts. So likewise per box temperature and its cumulative time has been recorded. So after that 4 trials, we have checked a number wise boxes. You can also add number of box while molding. So you can actually differentiate parts after the in quality inspections. So likewise, when you take the all results, we have that result like this. For first trial, as temperature is too much, it gives hot tear shrinkage like defects. At last, when temperature it drop below 1370, it will give the cold defect. So all the results has been saturated like this. Conclusion of process validation. Like for pouring temperature range 1426 to 1379, all the jobs found are okay. So we can give a specification label like this. Results of validation are like we get specification limit and operating limit. In specification limit, we get the range which actually confirm the part that for this range the part is okay. But on a shop floor, we give the operating limit that shop floor should be work within this limit. So the operating limit are 1410 to 1390. Total 20 degrees Celsius is total range. But the whole specification limit within the jobs getting okay is a range of 50 degrees Celsius. So in case of any emergencies, if operating limits are get dissolved due to any kind of emergency, the part should not get defected. Likewise, operating and specification limits are given, and these ranges are hand over to the production. Of course, for a validation, the production person should witness the validation process so that he can understand, okay, for this range it is going okay, and for that range it is going defected. So that a quality person, development person, and production person, at least a development person and production person, should witness the process.
So my next question is, whose responsibility is this? Is a responsibility of safety, or responsibility of development, or responsibility of production?
Actually, the whole processes should be the responsibility of CFT, but a development team should carry the process validation at initial stage of a job, so that for from start of a job or from development of a job, the part get defect free.
What is the actual benefits we are looking from this validation process? What are outcome
I
you are
can
expecting actually?
I can say there are n number of things getting flown after the validation. As I have said, it is R&D of a process. It is actually, it's my personal opinion, it is actually the engineer's role in a foundry. Because first benefit is that we get the specification limit and operating limit. First benefit. Second one is we get the plant and process capability. For example, if uh, I can get the okay results for 9 boxes, sorry, 8 boxes, then I can also think, is it their scope to add the ninth mold in the line? Depending on pouring time and drop of a temperature, I can check my scope to add the ninth box in a line. That is second benefit given by the process validation. Third benefit, if I cannot get 8 boxes or any kind of typical number, that X number of boxes I could not get, then if my furnace is not emptying for that typical X number of molds, then I have to think that extra mechanization that can keep the pouring temperature for typical time. So we can get the idea or need for a new mechanization addition in a plant. So I have said the plant and process capabilities are flown by the process validation. Third benefit is we can assure the new job development with the process validation. So these are typically benefits flown by the process validation.
What should the frequencies for the validation? If it's do one validation for one time, it is okay, or you have to repeat it after certain time frame. Is there any such a certain frequency decided or given in the standard?
Yes, surely. IITF standard says that you should validate your processes within 1 year, once in a year. But I can say that for certain process, the process differs with job to job, plant to plant. job thickness and part family. So I can say we can, for a productionized job, full on flown production, we have to validate the process once in a year. We can add part family within that, but yes, for every job, validation is must at development stage. You have to decide your ranges, your process parameters at initial level of development. So validation is must at development. Then you can do it in every year to assure your process. If you can, it is good, definitely.
Are all processes required to be validated, or is there any specific idea that only special processes or critical processes are to be validated?
Uh, for that, I can see some process gives us attribute type of results, some process gives variable results. Like if you want to do the validation for, we can say, spectro process, matlab, chemistry, check the chemistry. That process depends on how you pull out the coin. So there is no variable data. But yes, you can once decide and train the people that this should be like that. You could not bound that process in a chart, or you could not bound that process in any kind of a numbers, but you have to only give them a visual standard. Your coin should be like that. So yes, process wise we can decide the validation, but for a critical process you have to do the validation.
Prasad, the optimization of process and the validation of process are two different things, or both are together?
Optimization and validation,
Validation.
according to me, it is purpose for both is same. So it is same.
So for example, you're talking here of 1420 and 1385. So we
Yes,
decided to optimize the temperature. So we can, whether we can reduce from 1420 to 1390, and whether
yes,
so that we can reduce some power or some melting costs. So likewise, you
yes,
can think of optimization. So it is a part of validation. It can
yes.
be clubbed with
But
the validation.
validation is the initial stage. See, in case of validation, you have to be neutral. Whatever result should be, you have to be neutral. That okay, you have to only monitor what is happening when you change the parameters. So in case of validation, you have to be neutral. You have to gather the data. You have to study data, analyze data, and decide what is the area of work you have to do. Likewise, I have said, after the validation, one can say that okay, after the validation of typically pouring temperature, one can find that okay, I can add one extra mold. Another person can say that I can change the traveling time of a ladle, or ladle speed. I can change that so that my pouring get within less time. Third person can think that I can save my energy by reducing the temperature because the temperature drop is less. So according to plant, according to person, according to, I can say, the management also, the perspective are going to be different after the data of a validation. You have to choose what is the parameter of optimization you are going to do, but the data is gathered based on the validation.
We're talking about numbers and data. Here also you have taken some data. I have just one
Yes,
last question: whether how to take that particular data. You have started here at 1420. So how you arrive at 1420?
1420, I could not get that.
You have taken your first trial with you can say tapping temperature 1560, then
Yes,
1530,
yes,
1510, and 1490. So how you arrive
Yes.
these numbers 1560, 1530, 1510, and 1490? It is based on your experience, or is any
Yes,
specific
yes.
part-wise observation analysis? How you can arrive it?
It is based on, generally it is based on experience, because you know your plant capabilities, that this kind of a drop happening, that is regular practice of your plant. Generally we should not uh, affect on regular practices while doing the validation. You should monitor what is going on, like that. So generally I am taking 1510 temperature, where I find all the parameters okay. So with the 1510 I am validating process parameters 50 plus 20 minus.
Okay, Prasad, thank you very much for your nice answers and a good explanation about the validation. I hope and all the viewers can understand this process and they can continue with this validation of processes in their own foundry. It will help them to
Yes.
do those things in future as well. So thank you very much for support and your time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.